Hey guys, welcome back to GB Reactions. I hope you're well. I hope you've been having a great day. And lots of apologies for not being able to post for one reason or another over the last 5-6 weeks. I had a really bad cold to begin with, and then my headphones broke on me, and then I had this technical issue with not being able to get the mic drivers to work. So anyway, hopefully I got them sorted now. So touch wood, everything will work fine. That said, I just want a big thank you to anybody who's subscribed over the last few weeks, because I do kind of feel really, really guilty and for not posting. So it's great to be back, and it's Sunday today, and this is a track I've been looking forward to getting to, primarily because I've never heard it, but also because there's a certain artist in this group that I do know quite well, but never heard of him in this group, or never heard of his group at all. So I'm going to be reacting to a group called Machine. They were formed in New York in around about the late 70s by, I think, Jay Stovall, and the band consists of Claire Bath, Kevin Nance, Lonnie Ferguson, and Melvin Lee. I think I've heard of Lonnie Ferguson before, but the artist I was really, really looking forward to, and hopefully his voice will come out on this somewhere, is August Darnell, who I believe, I'm pretty fairly sure that he's the same August Darnell that's with Kid Creole and the Coconuts. So this band is described as American funk, disco, and rock. I'm really, really curious because that's a hell of a combination. This track that I'm about to react to is called There But For the Grace of God Go I, and it was from I think it was from their first album, which was a self-titled album. So a self-titled album. You can tell I haven't done this for a while. A self-titled album called Machine, and that was from 1979. And I believe they only had this was one of two albums that they did. So they didn't. I'm guessing after the second album, August Darnell went on to be with Kid Creole and the Coconuts. I mean, we're only talking a couple of years. This track sadly only reached number 77 in I think that's the Billboard Hot 100, and that was in 1979. So that's really all I know about this. This is an audio version only, and yeah, so we go, Machine with There But For the Grace of God Go I, and apparently this is the original version, so hopefully it's not extended, it's not remixed or anything like that. Very disco.
And when she's 10 years old, she thinks that rock and roll, but Poppy bangs it from the home. But for the grace of God.
So to put it, I'm loving the pacing of his track so far now, and I think already I kind of picked up, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think I picked up two separate vocalists already, and that really excites me as groups go, because I do love there to be multiple vocalists on a track and on different tracks. I believe it brings different perspectives to different dimensions even to the music they produce. It's always a lot more interesting and involved when you have a slightly different vocal. The first vocalist on this was actually reminded me a little bit of an artist from more recent years, LaRue, just in the way that she kind of carries the notes through into the next note, and I really love that because it's such a driving force to that vocal. It literally feels it's an unstoppable vocal force that's going to bring you straight onto the next line. I really enjoy that, and although I ever only heard a couple of LaRue tracks, I did really like that style of singing. The second vocalist has a more kind of powerful, sharper voice. But yeah, this is great. It's got a great tempo. It's got real drive to it. And I didn't know what to expect, to be honest, when he started because of the piano. The piano felt very soft and gentle and melodic. And even though I had read that they were funk disco rock, I wasn't knowing where this was actually going to go. I think they left the description of the band left that quite ambiguous, but yeah, I'm loving it so far, and I'm not surprised that this was in the Hot 100. Probably deserves to be there. There's a lot of great disco tracks around in the end of the 70s if you like that kind of thing. It's hard to get away from those disco tracks in them days, and I personally, as a young person, I really enjoyed the energy of disco tracks back then.
Oh, she thinks that rock and roll, but Poppy bangs it from the home. But for the grace of God, there, it could be me, it could be you. No, it couldn't be.
She turns out to be a natural freak, gaining weight and losing sleep. And when she's reached 16, she packs the things and leaves. With a man she met on the street, come and start to move with her head to the wall. Too much love is worse than none at all.
I'll tell you something else, actually. I've listened to a lot of disco tracks in my time, and the lyrics on this are actually really quite not the word, but dramatic's not the word. They're like actually really some serious lyrics on this, and it's something I want to get into afterwards. But at the back of my mind, I'm thinking, I just have to deal with the lyrics as they come, and I believe that it was. Do you know? It's actually really nice to hear something like this with the passion and the energy that disco comes with, to actually have serious lyrics. Not that other disco songs have what's the word, trivial lyrics or frivolous lyrics, but there's a real sort of seriousness about the story in this song, and I really want to kind of do it justice when I talk about it at the end. So that was Machine with There, but for the grace of God, go I, and that was the original version. If it wasn't the original version, please let me know. But that was really was fabulous. I didn't know what to expect from this. I didn't. And I actually thinking when the second vocal came in was actually could that have been a male vocal? I'm not sure. Could that have been August Darnell, but at a higher range? I was kind of questioning that. I think we've got two. I'm assuming we've got two female vocalists within the range of a band. I don't know what everybody does in the band. There's very little information on it. What I really loved for the last 2 minutes was the synths and the bass working in tandem. That was that's fabulous. It's very chic-esque. But Nile Rodgers and Bernard Edwards, the essence of that, the spirit of that in this song. But the vocals are fantastic. I love the distinction between the two voices, and as equally as powerful, but very different from each other. Yeah, all in all, it's just a really, really it didn't feel like 5 minutes. I looked at that thinking disco song, over 5 minutes. Is that too long for a disco song? But it wasn't, and in the last 2 minutes I was imagining how this would have felt maybe in and I'm sure I'm going to get the name of this place wrong, but I believe in New York he had, was it Studio 54? Again, correct me if I've got the wrong number there. But yeah, Studio 54, I can imagine just being on the floor to this, dancing to this for like maybe 10 minutes. Yeah, it really kind of evoked those disco days, but this was a really stylish song, and the production of this, the vocal delivery, you can't fault that, and you can't fault the music in this, that balance between electronic and the actual physical bass guitars. It was perfect, really, and then you had the lyrics, and I was picking up little bits of his lyrics as I went through. But I'm now going to go through and have a look. So I think the lyrics are actually really, really substantially quite serious lyrics, and they may be really once you kind of hear the lyrics. I wish I'd had a lyrical version on screen, because I think that really, really helps to actually be able to listen and work the story out in your head as it goes along. But I think the lyrics, the music aside and the vocals aside, the lyrics were just as equally weighted as the rest of the song. So yeah, the lyrics. Carlos and Carmen Vidal just had a child, a lovely girl with a crooked smile. Never got a split, 'cause the Bronx ain't fit for a kid to grow up in. Let's find a place, they say, somewhere far away, with no blacks, no Jews, and no gays. Within that, what I read was, and bearing in mind, I remember the situation in New York in the late 70s was pretty rough, and I remember the Guardian Angels. They were featured in the UK when there were stories about how bad crime had actually got in New York, the Bronx, generally in New York, and these Guardian Angels were there to kind of protect people, to kind of stop these interactions between gangs and people, going about their lawful business. And it was, it put the terror into me about New York. I thought for many years that New York would literally, if you step foot in New York, you're pretty much dead. I mean, I know that's not as bad as actually being there was probably like, but it was just that idea that was put into your head. So essentially, Carlos and Carmen had just had a child. It suddenly brings home the fragility of life, and they don't want a child to be brought up in a place where I guess gang culture is running a little bit out of control. When they say with they want to move to a place somewhere far away with no blacks, no Jews, no gays. I'm assuming that with gang culture comes different communities, different gangs. I'm guessing that in New York you might have had Hispanic gangs, you might have had black gangs. I'm guessing you everybody is very separate to everybody else, and they want to move to a place where being black, Jewish, or gay, even Hispanic maybe, isn't doesn't set you aside from people. It isn't an issue with people, and that all people can just be viewed as one community rather than these separate entities that for some are at war with each other. And again, I'm only speculating on how the gangs were made up in New York, but that's what I read into that. I didn't read that there was maybe a racist element to it, no blacks, no Jews, no gays, or a bigotry or any kind. I just kind of reading that as they need to get away to a place that's where you can feel safe, whoever you are, with whoever you want to hang out with, whoever your friends are. You don't have to choose sides. So, that was really heavy first verse, essentially. But there for the grace of God go I. And in the second verse, Poppy and the family left for dirty streets to find a quiet place overseas. And year after year, the kid has to hear the do's and don'ts and the dears. And when she's 10 years old, she digs up rock and roll, but Poppy bans it from home. So I'm guessing that they wanted a place that's more kind of, spiritual. They want to teach their kid rights. But ultimately, kids are sometimes free spirits and they want to hear things for themselves. They don't want to be force-fed a narrative of any kind. And I'm sensing in the second verse a sense of slight rebellion towards that. Because it's, there's certain things being banned from the home that you might be introduced to, because there is that fear and there's that trauma of you kind of wanting to rejoin what they basically had fled from in the first place. Baby, she turns out to be a natural freak, popping pills and smoking weed, and when she's sweet 16, she packs her things and leaves with a man she met on the street. Carmen starts to bawl, bangs her head to the wall. Too much love is worse than none at all. So, yeah, you're caught between the devil and the deep here. You squeeze your child too much and they become the very essence of a thing that you wanted to run away from. And I think it just kind of shows how difficult maybe being a parent is. I've never been a parent, so I think it just shows how difficult it is to kind of bring up a kid with all the best intentions. And you see this every day, even in the UK, a perfectly respectable couple, their kids, for whatever words they've used or the actions they did or didn't, perform with their child, the child has suddenly started going a little bit off the rails. And I guess, it's not, you don't naturally know what to do in that situation. You may do something and it turns out to be the best thing ever. You may, try something different and it completely throws them further down that line into that descending circle. I read, I was watching I'm going a bit off on tangent now. I was watching a podcast, I think, with ex-SAS chap called Mark Billy Bingham. And I love watching things like that. I find them quite inspirational. And it turns out that he was actually, he grew up not too far from me, just across the way in Warsaw, in the West Midlands. And he said he had a really hard-working, respectable family. His mum and dad, I think he said he had a couple of siblings, also very respectable. But he completely went off the rails. And I think the more that he was spoke to, the more he kind of rebelled against it, and he just did his own thing. And basically his early life was about not getting caught. And eventually it was somebody completely away from that. I think he said it was a guy that he tried to mug. He had a thing about stealing hats, and he tried to mug this guy's trilby or something like that. And the guy chased him and he kind of cornered him, and he took up a stance like a box. And he was only about 10 years old, and this guy was quite old. And he took up a boxing stance to this man, and this man said, "You know what? You keep the hat, but why don't you come, to this boxing club?" And that was the first time he was ever it was taken a bit aside by that, and he decided that that was the moment he was going to change things. It didn't completely solve his situation. He was still quite out there, and boxing essentially taught him more to fight, and he was fighting for the wrong reasons still. But with the help of this guy, it kind of set him on the road, and this guy did the thing his parents maybe couldn't have done. But yeah, respect to that, and I think this is the problem. You never quite know how to bring up your kids, and when they get to a certain age, they need to really take responsibility for themselves, and hopefully, kids will get in with the right kind of friends to begin with. As a carer, I know how difficult it is to monitor somebody from not being influenced by the wrong kind of people. So this song has really kind of got me thinking about these things. It was a brilliant song, and I have to say I'm really, really surprised, and I'm so glad I reacted to this. I can't remember who suggested this, but thanks whoever it was, because it's it's quite a joy to react to this. And after being away for so long reacting, then I'm just really, really glad to get back into it with this song. So till next time, guys, take care of yourselves. If you do want to join me in the comments below, I really appreciate that, and it's great to be back. Have a great weekend. Have a great rest of the week.